Hi, Gemini. Welcome to your December 2015 General Tarotscope. It's Raina here. And I think this is going to be a month where your personal relationships really come to the forefront. And I'm talking primarily of long term romantic relationships. The sun is in the seventh house for the first few weeks of the month until the winter solstice, when it goes into the sign of Capricorn and therefore into your eighth house. So while the sun is in the seventh house, it's going to join Saturn, which has recently gone into Sagittarius and is therefore making residence in that seventh house for 2.5 years until 2017. So, with the sun joining up with Saturn, there really is going to be a highlighting of these serious relationships. And that includes some of the stuff that maybe you haven't wanted to deal with recently that you have to look at. And we have a new moon in this seventh house on the 11th of December. So there may be some new developments in your marriage or other long term relationship. The seventh house also relates to legal cases. So this may be a double whammy or a twofer where some of you are dealing with a marriage partner but in a divorce court. But with Saturn here for such a long time, I think that it's fair to say that in some cases it will challenge your relationship. And only if this relationship is solid enough will it stand the test of Saturn's transit through the seventh house. Because I had this transit myself, and I remember reading that any relationship that's on shaky ground might not last. But if you do have a good relationship, it will get even stronger. So that's a positive spin on things when it goes into the sign of Scorpio. Venus will start the month in the fifth house of romance and creativity and children. And for those of you who are single, this is a great energy for meeting someone, and take advantage of that if you can, because you will look very enticing to other people. On the ninth of the month, it enters a sign of Scorpio and therefore enters your sixth house of health. So, this is a great time to think of ways that you can tweak your diet and your lifestyle to make yourself look more attractive. It's also a time when you might want to spend money on things that increase your health. Mars will be in Libra during the whole month of December, and this will be in that fifth house. And so you may be very motivated when it comes to meeting a romantic partner to the point of being downright aggressive. So make sure that you don't overdo it, but it is definitely a time when you have a lot of energy to spare when it comes to romance. But it could be more of the lustful variety. And likewise, Mars in the fifth house can indicate that you are active in sports or other kind of pleasurable activities, especially if they relate to physical exertion. It may give you particular drive when it comes to your creative pursuits. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the eighth house activity because, as I say, the sun goes into the eighth house on the 21st of December, and Mercury is actually going there on the 4th of the month. And so Mercury leads the way and is looking at eighth house matters, which is other people's money, for instance, and really thinking a lot about this side of life. You may have a spouse's income that needs to be looked at. You also may be looking at your investments, any kind of passive income. When the sun goes there, there's a lot of creative energy poured into how you can profit from other sources of money, how this can be generated. And the other areas that the eighth house covers is like the occult, spiritual matters. So that might be something that becomes more important to you towards the end of December for some reason. And with Mercury there, it might be a good time to really practice some of these techniques, including meditation, because it's a mental engagement that you're looking at with the connection between Mercury and the eighth house. We have Jupiter transiting the fourth house for an entire year. And so this creates expansion in your home and family sector. For some of you, it could be a literal addition to the family, it could be an addition to the house, it could be some benefit, financial benefit that comes from your family of origin, like some inheritance, donation of property, what have you. We have a full moon at 3 degrees Cancer on Christmas Day, which is going to be in your second house. So there might be some developments in your earned income sector. The full moon is seen as a culmination, but it could also be the building up to a climax or even a crescendo, something where there's an expansive element to it because the moon is full. So there might be an increase in your income towards the end of December. So, Gemini, the first card I picked describes you as we come into the month of December, and that is the Queen of Wands. So, whether you're a man or a woman, the Queen of Wands is more like a temperament, an attitude, rather than how you present yourself in a worldly sense, but just your personality. And there's a lot of confidence and enthusiasm that you have generated and that other people will be seeing in you. Now, the message from the universe is the King of Swords. So while you are in this state of having a cheerful nature for whatever the reason, whether it's you're in love, which the wands can definitely suggest because of the connection to fire signs and passion, or it could be something with your career. The King of Swords is all about being detached and being very rational, and I think that you might be so enthusiastic because you've had Venus in the fifth house for a while, and some of you may have fallen in love. So maybe you're in that initial stage where you're just floating on a cloud or something like that, and the the spiritual message is saying, keep your head. No matter what, keep your head. And the advice to take is the Five of Pentacles, which is really about looking at any lack consciousness that may be lurking within your psyche. Interestingly, the hidden influence is the Eight of Swords. And these are the self limiting beliefs that create that feeling of lack. And how it shows up a lot of times in terms of the careers that people choose, the feelings of what is possible for you, and what you're willing to try, what you're willing to risk. And I don't mean by investing money or anything like that, but even just going out on a limb and trying something that where you have to risk failure. Or it could have to do with how much you think you deserve. Some people, especially if they tend to be rather spiritual in their belief system, they think that it's wrong to earn too much money. And so they're almost proud of not having enough or having barely enough to just live. And so at this time, you're being asked to look at these things. Also, with the eighth house activity, there may be some of you who are going through divorce proceedings, and it's the other person's income that's kind of at the forefront that you have to deal with. And that one can go either way. Some people may be overly aggressive trying to get more of a spouse's income than they really need because they have this irrational sense of lack. Because, by the way, lack doesn't mean that you really have that issue, it could be irrational in your case. I'm sure there are people with a lot of money who have this fear of never having enough. And what is so nice is that the outcome is the Ace of Pentacles. And this is like new beginnings with money. And it even means that it's almost like a gift from above. I told you that on the 25th of the month, you have a full moon in the second house of earned income. So that could be a time of new beginnings for you as well. Even though it's a full moon, it's like this new development. So it seems like it's going to be really good for you, Gemini, especially for those of you who have solid relationships with your partner. And if you'd like a personal reading, click on the link below for a list of my services. Otherwise, have a wonderful month, Gemini. Bye.